FinTech companies are busy moving into the payments space. They claim they can offer faster and cheaper services. In this next chapter, we talk to an international bank sending cross-border payments about their requirements. Israel's bank Leumi placed 158th in the Bankers 250 Top 1000 and made profits of $770 million. It corresponds with banks all over the world and is always looking out for new initiatives in the payments space. So Avi, in recent years we've seen fintechs coming along and muscling into the space that the banks used to consider their own. I mean, how much do you think that the fintech companies are a threat to banks?
Look, they could be viewed as a threat, but they should be viewed as a catalyst for change. And in fact, that's what they are. The emergence of the fintechs onto this landscape has forced banks to place significant focus on their digital strategy and on digital investment.
Do you think the banks should look at fintech companies as competitors, or could they be potential partners as well?
Look, both the fintechs and the banks have what each other needs. Banks have capital, liquidity, they have a large branch network, they have an understanding of compliance and legal regulatory requirements. The fintechs, well, they have an entrepreneurial spirit. They're fast and agile. They're willing to make mistakes and try new things. They're able to identify and address client pain points. I think the emergent trend is one of partnership and collaboration.
Okay, because one of the things that the banks have to do is they have to adhere to a lot of regulation. The fintech companies don't have to do that at the moment, but sure as hell they're going to have to in the future. So, I mean, is that an advantage actually that the fintech company could have by partnering with a bank, that they will give them regulatory cover?
Yes. Also, another advantage would be banks have the reputation of safety. They are the custodian of people's funds and monies.
Okay, and you mentioned that the fintech companies are very entrepreneurial, very dynamic, and that's something we don't normally associate with banks. So again, I mean, is it possible for the banks to kind of buy into a little bit of that entrepreneurial spirit?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, banks do have a reputation of being rigid, old school, but there is a need for a reset of the mindset, and I think that's what banks can learn from fintech companies.
Okay, now banks work a lot with other banks. And I mean, this gives them sort of an additional advantage, so something that the fintech companies don't have. So, I mean, what are the advantages of a bank like yours of having a global clearing provider?
Probably the biggest advantage is not price or speed or reliability. It's their ability to respond in times of crisis. In our business, like in all businesses, things do go wrong. Incorrect payments, duplicate payments, fraudulent payments. I believe that businesses, service providers, are best measured in times of crisis.
Okay, and the fintech companies, frankly, they haven't experienced that yet.
That is correct.
All right. Now, what can we learn from other industries? Because, you know, banking is not the first industry to see massive disruption due to technology. You know, is there some parallels out there we can draw and perhaps learn some lessons?
Absolutely. What immediately comes to mind is the story of Netflix and Blockbuster. It's a telling story. Blockbuster was the dominant player in the video rental space. In 2002, it was valued at $4 billion. It had 5,000 retail outlets.
So it's a little bit like a bank, an old-fashioned bank.
Absolutely. The branches, the outlets. Along comes a small player, Netflix, didn't have any branches, changed the business model.
So they're like an online virtual bank, really? Yeah.
Correct. In 2008, Blockbuster and Netflix were in negotiations for Blockbuster to acquire Netflix for $50 million. Those negotiations fell through.
And they fell through on price, I think, is that right?
That is correct. In 2010, Blockbuster filed for Chapter 11. Today, Netflix is the giant. It's producing series like House of Cards, and I believe it's got a market cap of $40 billion.
So this is a very telling lesson, isn't it? So, I mean, what we're saying really is that banks need to be watching the fintech market very, very carefully, and they need to kind of keep an eye on the ones that they think are going to be the real disruptors and either form a partnership or maybe even buy them.
Absolutely, and I believe they are.
Okay, so we're going to see a lot of mergers and acquisitions in the fintech sector going ahead.
I believe so.
Avi, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.